name is Nankunda Katangaza, and I am the co-founder of the African Corporate and Government Council, which Anna has very kindly done a great introduction of. So I was going to say a bit more about the association, but I do want us to get going quickly on the real reason we're here. So hopefully I can say a bit more about ACGC afterwards. Many of you are probably familiar with ACGC. We've seen quite a lot of you at our events in the past. The one thing that we probably want to say is a bit more about our conference coming up, our 6th annual conference that will be in Accra in October. But I'll save that for the end of this session because we're here to hear from you.
It's good to be here. Good afternoon, everyone, seniors and colleagues. It's my pleasure to introduce Lara Oyesanya. Lara is the Chief Legal Officer, Group General Counsel, and Company Secretary at ZEPZ, a leading provider of cross-border payments and remittance services across 2 brands, World Remit and Sendwave, an experienced solicitor with a demonstrated history of working in fintech, the financial services sector, that is skilled in regulatory, payments, enterprise risk management, consumer protection, small and medium enterprise, offshore and commercial banking. A non-executive director, Shaw Trust and Pension B Group PLC. A contributing editor, LexisNexis Encyclopedia of Banking Law. And a fellow of the RSA. Businesswoman of the Year and Corporate Leader 2018 FL National Awards. Ranked in the Lawyer Hot 100 2021. BBBA Financial Services Senior Leader of the Year 2021-2022. Woman in Legal, winner of Women for Africa Award. Former General Counsel and Chief Risk Officer, Contis. Legal Director at Klarna. Senior Legal Counsel at Barclays and BAE Systems. A Divisional Counsel at RAC. A Legal Director at HBOS, Lloyds Banking Group. And Group Head of Legal at Lex Autolis. Former co-opted member, Committee on Benefactions, External and Legal Affairs, University of Cambridge, and trustee and non-executive director, Plan International UK. My dear colleagues, Lara is a barrister of the Supreme Court of Nigeria and a law graduate of the University of Lagos with an LLM in comparative company law. Wow, Lara, what an impressive profile.
Thank you.
There's no doubt that you have mastered and established executive presence in the organizations that you have worked and is working. So please, let's appreciate Lara's achievements by giving her some thumbs up, all sorts of emojis that you can. Let's applaud her. It is no mean feat to be in-house and to rise to the top of your career. She must have gone through a lot of challenges. There's no doubt, and that is why she's here today to share her experiences, tell us her story, how she navigated to the top and has remained there. Not just is something else to get to the top, but to also remain there is another thing. Ladies and gentlemen, let us hear Lara tell us her story. I am super excited, and I'm sure that everyone is super excited to hear Lara. Lara, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Let us hear your story. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And the warm introduction, I feel so welcome. Thank you very much. And hearing Justina go through, my bio, even listening to that makes me feel I'm tired already. So thank you so much. I think the important thing today is to make sure we can get across quite a lot of the questions, to go through. But I'll give you a very, follow up to my journey. I finished from University of Lagos 1981, law school 1982, became a solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Then went on to do my National Youth Service in Zaria. I then also got my master's, from the University of Zaria. Sorry, Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. And then relocated to the UK in 1986. And then became a solicitor of the Senior Courts of England and Wales in 1993. And since then, I kind of sort of been practicing in-house, going through all the different organizations that Justina has read out. I'm absolutely delighted to be here to share with you how to master, your presence as an executive in the boardroom. So the questions that Justina and I are going to go through will give a sort of insight into that. And I think the idea is to be able to, make sure there is an understanding that of what an executive presence means, and also to discuss and, talk about the various toolkit that can be deployed to ensure success, as an executive. Let me stop there, and then we can get through the questions, at which point, I'll also go through my journey as well.
Okay, so having heard Lara and having read your profile, that is so impressive.
Thank you.
I was wondering, did you have mentors, or do you still have mentors? How were you able to reach the peak of your career, or was it all your own making?
That's a very interesting question. I think it's a combination of so many things. I think there have been leaders that I've come across that have been, very influential and very supportive. But I like to say that there's quite a lot of determination, belief, resilience to get through all the various challenges, as you can imagine. Whilst I would not necessarily say mentors, but there are people that have been quite influential in my life.
Right, thank you, Lara. So what I hear Lara saying is she dropped two important messages for us: determination and resilience. So to do this work, to get to the top, you need to be determined. And as a leader, you must have your clear vision. And when you have it, then you pursue it. And that is the way you will begin to establish your influence, because influence comes with trust. When they trust in your ability, your resilience, and your determination, you move up. Okay, so my next question will be, can you share some key strategies with us, how you have been able to get to the top and maintain this position?
Yeah, I think the first message I want to give is you need to understand that your career pathway is more of a marathon rather than a sprint. You need to sort of be deploying different strategies from a very early stage that will then culminate into kind of sort of the result you want. And for me, it is very much one, you need to know who you are. You need to know your strengths and weaknesses. because we're all so different. And there's absolutely no point wanting to do exactly the same thing that somebody else has done, because the sort of strategies or inner strengths that they will, dip into to achieve that may be different. And then also you need to be absolutely certain that this is what you want to do. It's your own decision. You want to sort of achieve at the very highest level. Once you get through that stage of, being very true to yourself, knowing your strengths and weaknesses, knowing, for example, whether you're an early morning person or an evening person. For me, I discovered a very, very long time ago, growing up in Lagos, finishing my youth service and, practicing all the way to the Court of Appeal before I relocated to the UK. I knew very, very early on that I'm a completer, finisher person, i.e. when I start something, I want to finish it. So I always have to dig deep into, even when things are very challenging and when they're very difficult, I know that I will have to just keep going, to be able to complete any tasks, that I have. I think this is very, very important. So for me, what I then tend to do is to make sure that I have the knowledge that will enable me to navigate all the various challenges that I have to overcome. So for me, knowledge is power. You need to make sure that you're continuously informed of all the various, pros and cons, do's and don'ts, things that can get in your way, that can, create problems for you to be able to achieve at the very, very highest level. Having said that, I think I must share with you my experience, when I first, qualified as a 22-year-old, which I kind of sort of been the, bedrock of getting me to sort of achieve at the level that I want to be at. And that was when I was in Zaria practicing. I was working at the chambers of Femi Olufokunbi at that time. And I was also at the same time, preparing to do my master's. So we had a long-running litigation, which lasted a few weeks. And I was attending, courts, before Honor Mrs. Justice Donnelly. And I think it was at the Magistrates Court at the time. At the end of the trial, on Judgment Day, Femi, my boss, said to me, "Oh, it's okay. I think we're going to walk this one. You go and get judgment. I don't need to come with you." So I arrived in court. The lawyer on the other side, I was a senior advocate, of Nigeria. So of course I was sat at the same desk, as the front row, where all the lawyers sat, with the senior advocate as well, who was extremely, very friendly, and, I just thought, oh, I am chatting to a senior advocate and he's being friendly. He's actually talking to me. I'm sure some of you will have, experiences whereby when you are in the presence, of senior advocates, you kind of sort of treat them with so much, respect, and, you just put them on that pedestal as people of the utmost importance. So I was kind of, literally overwhelmed, that I was getting so much attention from the senior advocate. So I feel so relaxed and all that. Anyway, Mrs. Donnelly gave a judgment. And as you will know, we were successful. And if you are successful in the litigation, you're expected, to ask for an order for costs. So at the end of the judgment, I just sat down there. I was still kind of, enjoying the attention I was receiving, from the senior advocate. And Mrs. Donnelly looked at me and said, "Do you not have an application to make?" I stood up and said, "Oh, Your Honor, no, I'm good." Sat down. She asked me the second time. I gave the same response again. The third time, she looked at me straight in the eyes and she said, "You've just won your case. Are you not going to make an application for costs?" And at that point, oh my goodness, it dawned on me that without even, at a very early stage in my career, I'm about to flunk it, and he was just like, what do I do? Anyway, I quickly, rebound and made the application for costs. And when I got back to Chambers, I told, Femi what had happened. And he said, you've just been played, the oldest trick in the book. That the senior advocate knew you're very fresh and you're not experienced, so you kind of sort of took advantage, of that. That, yeah, I'm glad that Mrs. Dunley kind of sort of, supported you. So I think I was very lucky that one, it was Mrs. Dunley because she's friendly. She's a friend of my boss. They went to school together, and also, the fact that she's a female judge, kind of probably took, was able to support another female junior barrister. So that was a lesson, that I learned, that at the end of the day, people are people. Do not overly, get overwhelmed, by status or title. And, frankly, if you're in the room, you own your space and be, prepared, to sort of deliver, have a voice, say what you have to say, without being overwhelmed in the presence of who you are. So let me stop there, because I can go on and on.
Yeah, thank you, Lara. That your story resonates well with me. I was 3 months post-call when I had my own experience. I went to court to move a motion in Jos. And then the chief judge, I was before the chief judge, Justice Uloko. And when I finished moving the motion rather, I wasn't familiar with the court language. And I said, all I'm saying, he now removed his glasses. I said, what are you saying? He started making a scene out of it. And I didn't get it. I still said, my lord, all I'm saying is that, he said, can somebody tell this young lady what to do? Then he asked me, when were you called to the bar? I told him just 3 months ago. He said, okay, you better get yourself familiarized with the language of the court. We do not say all I'm saying here. And that was how I started learning my own lessons too. But anyway, that is a very good story. All of us here must have had our own experiences. And I'm sure that if we call on somebody here, they will also tell us what their first day was like, or when their few years post-call was like for them in court with our judges. Okay, so I get you saying that one, you must deploy strategies from early stages of your career, meaning it must be very clear to you what you want to do. Because if it is not clear to you, you cannot deploy strategies. What are you deploying strategies for? And then two, know your strengths and weaknesses and latch on your strengths. Three, do not do the same thing that someone else is doing because your composition is not the same.
Correct.
And then knowledge is power. And that is where it all starts from. That is how you get the influence. And that is how you get to master it.
Yeah.
When you start with the knowledge that you know, and everybody knows that you know it, and you can be the go-to for the subjects that they're discussing, then you have no issues. The next will be your emotions, how you can manage the emotional intelligence of the people around you. And Lara said something, you must speak up. You must speak up. You can't be in a place, you don't speak up, you don't share your opinions on any issues that are being discussed in your organization or at meetings, and then think that you will have that influence. No, it comes from your speaking out and speaking up. So, Lara, this will take me to how your daily routine is like, or how it has helped you to maintain executive presence.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. I must go back to my childhood. I think for me, the core at the center of it is discipline. You've got to, make sure that whatever you want to do, you're disciplined, about it. And I have my parents to thank for that. My father was very regimental, in terms of the things you do, how you keep the house clean, how you, basically, get ready and get yourself sorted. And I think that was kind of sort of in me. I also feel that a lot of what we do in life is very much dependent on the choices, that we make. I made a choice very early on to have a family and have a career. And yes, I ended up having 5 children. And in my defense, I always say 4 and 5 are twins. But I never, stopped to complain, about, oh, I've got 5 children. Because of that, I am tired, or I can't look after myself, or I can't do what I need to do on a daily basis. So what I did was just to bring structure into my life. And so, my day, frankly, always starts, if I can say, at the beginning of the week, so every Sunday when my kids were little and growing up, because I worked, throughout, and I worked full time, is to make sure that everything that I'm wearing, for the week is sorted out on a Sunday. Everything that the kids are wearing is all sorted out on a Sunday. All the shirts, trousers, skirts, or whatever is all sorted out on a Sunday. So I'm not doing anything in the morning. Also, I am very, acutely aware of keeping well, because, sometimes your mental, wellness is very important in terms of how you go about your, daily routine. And with the way I've chosen to live my life, I know to do and fit in everything that I want to fit in, I have got to have an early start. So my day usually starts quite early, sometimes as early as 5:30. I say my prayers, and sometimes I go out for a run, a run as in actually jogging. I wouldn't call myself a runner, but I always need to sort of, kind of make sure that I have, I'm relaxed, before I start anything. And sometimes I just walk. So I built that into my day. So whatever I'm doing, I need to, make sure that I put in the health aspect, to it, and make sure I have a good breakfast, and then, go to work. But I wake up every day mentally going through my list of all the things that I needed to do on that day. And I go to bed checking out and, ticking off all the things that I set out to do in the morning. And it's so kind of become second nature to me that even when I'm tired, I can't sleep until I've checked out all the tasks that I set out to do in the day. And I think that's kind of sort of been the way I've lived my life. And that goes back to my point about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. For me, I just have to, be very disciplined to make sure I can get through all the things, that I want to, because it's a choice. I chose to have kids. I chose to be involved in everything that I'm involved in, and I have to do it at the best of my ability.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Yeah. So I get you saying that discipline is at the core of everything. And
Yes.
you told us as little as getting your clothes ready ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us are so disciplined to prepare your clothes that you know you will wear for the week, each day, for the 5 days that you will go to work? That is something amazing. That is something that is so interesting to hear. Because yes, if you are not disciplined in little things, you cannot be disciplined in big things, which you would face in the office. So you should have a structure around your life, because that is the choice you have made for yourself. And so you can either have support, or you maneuver and help yourself to balance so that you can be effective in the office. That's what Lara is telling us. So if you haven't brought that into your career life, you probably will want to learn one or two things from the way Lara has structured herself and how her routine goes. And she told us that she eats good breakfast, meaning she has to remain mentally alert. If not, when the questions come, you know, the seat of a company secretary is like there's fire under it. When you get to the office, you might end up not doing the things that took you that day or your schedule that is planned. Your MD could just say to you, come with me for this meeting. And if you haven't eaten, you probably not concentrate at that meeting. You will not be able to take notes or to give him the synopsis of what has been discussed. So good breakfast is very key. We shouldn't go to
and good planning, Justina, because all of that would then translate into your work life. Because,
yes.
you know, frankly, on Sunday evening, I know exactly what I'm doing Monday to Friday. I know what my meetings, as I kind of sort of became an executive. Of course, my EA would do all of that for me, prepare the papers, send me a reminder. But before I got to that stage, I knew exactly Monday to Friday what I'm doing, and I will plan accordingly. So it starts from home and then translates into your working life as well.
Yeah. And then one other thing that is very instructive from what you said is thinking through what you have done for the day is very important, so that those things that you have missed, the next day you can take care of them. How many of us do that? It's very, very important that as company secretaries, you don't miss the ball, because there are some certain things that you may not have been able to do. But if before you go to bed, you go through the list of things that you set out to do and you're able to tick them, fine. If not, then you know that your job is cut out for you for the next day to start with some of those things if they are critical. Okay, so we will go to the next question that I'll ask Lara, and that question is, you know, many of us on the platform now are in-house counsel. Some of us want to transition also to in-house. Some are there already, and they are battling with how they will become visible and how they will create that influence. I mean, do you have anything to add to? I know that you had mentioned some few strategies at the beginning when we spoke, but then what do you have to tell the in-house lawyer so that that in-house lawyer will be visible and will ensure that they begin to build their influence and to get to the top, and probably with that to become a board member?
Yeah, I think the first thing is your mindset. And you really, really need to take care of that. As lawyers, we go through a lot. We go through really, rigorous training. When we qualify, of course, we feel very confident and very proud that we're lawyers. But when you go into work in the business, you have to think like a business. In most cases, the legal function is not core to the business. In most businesses, the legal function is a support function. It's up to us as lawyers to make sure that we change that narrative, that we are kind of sort of understanding, the dynamics of the business, to be able to change the narrative from being a support function to actually an essential part of the business that can enable the business to succeed. You become an enabler, you become a partner. So one of the first things you do when you're in-house, you don't need to justify that you're competent, because you need to remember you got the job in the first place. So don't spend valuable time trying to prove that you're competent. Do that in terms of your actions, your behavior, how you engage with the stakeholders. Stakeholders engagement, very important. Stakeholder management, very important. What I used to say is when I'm, starting at a new organization, I cannot sort of mentally map out my first 100 days, which is generally most businesses kind of sort of all similar. You either have a product or you have a service. You have to sell that to a customer base, because otherwise, what is the point of a business? You have something that somebody wants. So you need to know your products, your services. You need to know, how those products are designed and how you get from the design of the product and services, thinking about all the regulatory framework that needs to be in place to actually getting it to market. And this is regardless, whether you are a big bank, a small bank, whether you're a tech company, it doesn't matter what business that you are in. There are, basic, fundamental principles, which is your products, your services, getting to market, knowing your customer, retaining your customer, how do you grow, how do you make money. There will be different parts of the business that have responsibility for those functions. The CEO, for example, has the overall responsibility, but the CEO cannot just do the job on his own. He would have a, chief operating officer. He would have a commercial officer. He would have a product officer. You will have a human resources officer. You need to know who these people are, and you need to start building relationships with them. It's very important that lawyers remember that we are in the business of relationship building, not so much in the business of legal technicalities. You need to get people to listen to you. And remember, when you're starting at a new business, you haven't got any pedigree. You haven't got anything that people can say, yeah, we think we recruited the right person. But you need to be able to demonstrate that, that actually, yes, I am the right person. So you need to go about understanding how the business operates. So for me, I usually seek out the chief financial officer, because once you make friends with them, you know exactly what is going on in the business. You know what the pressures of the business are. And even before I join a business, I'm always looking at, if they're a public company, I want to look at their financial statements. I want to look at their annual returns. I want to look at any public documentation that I have to get a sense of what is important to that business. And also, a business does not stand alone. There will be competition. There are competitors. You need to have market intelligence. You may think that, what has this got to do with the practice of law? When you're in-house, it's got everything, to do with it. And also, more importantly, when you're going through all this process, you are acquiring knowledge. Knowledge gives you confidence. And when you're confident, you're resilient. When you're resilient, you face up to different challenges. And that's how you survive. It's not a question of sitting in a boardroom or being part of the senior management or actually being in business and just say, well, trust me, I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm doing. You have to actually demonstrate that you know what you're doing and you're not spending all your time telling the business what the law says. You have to speak the simple business language. It's like respect. You cannot demand it. You have to earn it. And like I said, your career trajectory is more like a marathon, not a sprint. It's small steps. Get into the business, get to know about the business, get to know about the business dynamics, get to know about the customers, get to know about the products, and always ask the question, how can I help? For me, I use my skills, competency, experience to find solutions for the business. Business are interested in somebody who is pragmatic, who is solution oriented, and who enables the business to have that competitive edge against the competition. Those are just the fundamentals. And you find that the more you know, the more confident, you are. It's very important, to sort of master the art of listening. There's a saying that you've got two ears and you got one mouse. There's a reason for that. I listen more, talk less. And I think one thing that you need to master as well is the ability to look at data, to look at information and make your own personal judgment. It's called independent thinking. We were taught at law school that there's a reason there are two sides to an argument. And sometimes it depends on how you can convince the judge to consider your side of the argument rather than, just thinking that you must be right or the other side is wrong. And then using all the tools that you have in your disposal to convince the judge to consider your argument as the right one. The same thing in business. You have to appreciate that there are people who are more knowledgeable in their area of expertise, and you need to learn from them, and you need to use the information that you have received from them to be able to then apply and deploy your legal knowledge to get the best outcome, for the business. If you listen more, you talk less, you'll be able to see things unfolding in front of you. People will see you listening attentively. They might even ask, what your views and opinions are. And you need to learn to sort of be able to summarize information very quickly. You need to be able to think on your feet. Communication is key. Active listening, like I said, is very important. That's how you build your influence, and you have to collaborate. So in short, to be successful, think like a business.
Thank you, Laura. So you've talked a lot. You've covered about 3 areas. 1, think like the business. You can't be in banking and not be part of the business. Be a business partner. Don't be a support. That is what Lara is telling us. And true, having worked in the bank, I saw it, because the products and services, if you do not know about it, then you can't give them advice, because they will always refer issues, customer issues, to you. And so if you do not know and do not understand the business, in the first place, you won't even be able to advise. So you must be an enabler, not a support, because you need that business to move forward as well. So we have since moved from the business seeing you as a support to being an enabler and contributing to the bottom line. That's what matters now. And then she also talked about you being the stake management person. You build relationships and you manage relationships. Believe you me, the board members, everybody in the bank, whether junior to you or senior to you, you manage them, because everything, according to them, has a legal implication. And so they run to you, whether in trouble, whether in good. You are at the receiving end, trying to ensure that everything moves smoothly. So stakeholder management and engagement is very, very important. You're a problem solver, because everything in the bank or wherever organization, so long as there's a legal department and there's a head of legal, you are the problem solver. And you can't say to them that it is not doable. There's no such word. Everything is possible. You have to find how you will solve the problem. Not illegally, but within the ambit of the law. Okay, so Lara said something that is very important. She says, always ask, how can I help? How may I be of help to you? Don't be that legal department where you are not approachable, where they run away from you, because by the time they see your face, they'll say, all those legal people, we can't talk to them. Then you are strangulating the business. You are no longer an enabler at that stage. So she says communication is key and true. Communication plays a very, very vital role in leadership. You can't want to be at the top or aspire to go to the top and you can't communicate supportively or effectively, it must be clear. Your communications must be clear, whether verbal or written. As a lawyer, as an in-house counsel, you don't want people to misinterpret your advice. You want to be clear in everything that you have put forward. So, Lara, thank you so much for those pieces of advice that you have given. So with that, I'll go to the next question, and this is centered around personal brand. I don't know, we keep hearing about personal brand. So how do you build your personal brand?
Very, very good question, and it's actually a very important one. The first thing to me is I present myself in the manner that I want people to take me. When I enter a room, I don't slouch. I walk in confidently. I have a smile on my face. I always make sure I greet everybody with respect. And this is something I do, not just walking in walking into the office or working in a work environment. When I'm going about, I do a lot of walking. When I see people cleaning, I always smile and say, hello, good morning, good afternoon. It's become second nature to me. So when you walk in, you sort of walk in full of energy because it's so important. I don't know how many of you actually watched or listened to the debate between Trump and Biden, yesterday. Both of them are kind of sort of about the same age group. The difference is like about 4 years or so. But at yesterday's debate, Biden lacked energy in the way he spoke. His voice is kind of very quiet. They said he had a cold. So straight away, the way he presented himself, he wasn't coming across as a strong person who has the capability to actually be successful, second term. So how you present yourself is, for me, number one, very, very important. Take care of that. Decide exactly, what's your style. I don't believe that women need to dress like men to be impactful. I love being very feminine. I love wearing my dresses. I love wearing my skirts. I love wearing my brands. I love wearing my jewelry. That's me. It gives me confidence. So you need to decide what is the way you want people to take you. So that's very important. The second thing for me, like I've said before, and I keep repeating this because I cannot say it enough, is your level of knowledge. And knowledge is not necessarily the legal competency. It's the daily information, being aware. You don't know what circle you're going to find yourself. You need to be able to engage. You need to be engaging. You need to sort of have passion and energy in your voice. You need to have a kind of that sort of level of urgency that you take everything seriously, you are ready to execute. Because there's one thing, to have a plan. There's one thing to have a vision. There's another thing to execute. Most people have vision. Most people have plan. They're organized, they plan, but they fall down on execution. Everything about you should say, I can do this. I can get this done. And that's kind of the sort of, message you want to be giving out. People talk now that, oh, I love your energy. I love your passion. It's okay to be passionate. It's okay to be energetic, but you do it with conviction. You do it, with respect. And what gives you that is actually, the confidence that you know your stuff without you having to say all the time, I'm a lawyer, I've done X, Y, Z. It's the way you engage. And there's a pathway to that. All the things that I'd done, 20 years ago, when I was working at RAC PLC, I, kind of sort of, I'd been there for some 7.5 years or so. And I was thinking, oh, okay, what do I do? So I started, writing articles. I've been published in Financial Times. I've been published in the Legal Director. I've been published in the Law Society Gazette. That's that's 2004. That's some 20 years ago. And by doing that over and over and over again, I find that I'm getting involved in a lot of research. I'm understanding different subjects. I kind of learn different things. For example, AI is topical. Everybody is talking about AI. There's so much noise around AI. I made it a point of duty to understand it better. I don't want to be repeating the same thing that everybody is saying. So when the opportunity came, the Financial Times invited me to an AI summit that took place in London in November last year to speak. I didn't know what I was going to say about AI, but frankly, from a governance perspective, having been an executive, for the last 5 years, I took that opportunity to sort of present myself and talk about the fundamentals of ensuring proper governance is in place. But I learned an awful lot. I have never been in a room, where there's so many AI experts. People were talking about ChatGPT and the fact that by going out, the way ChatGPT did, introducing the AI, about a year ago now, that it kind of sort of stopped, the development of the regulatory framework that was going to be put in place, and that it kind of sort of just opened, can worms. I'm still learning, about AI. So just introduce yourself to new information, extend your knowledge. Very important. It doesn't need to be knowledge in your area of expertise. It's just general knowledge. Know what is going on in the world. Know what is going on. Know the issues that are impacting business. There's a lot of talk in terms of, the current market conditions. Almost every business will be impacted, particularly if you're in the tech sector. The banking and finance, they had their time in 2007 when we had the collapse, of the banking system. It's now the technology system. Know what is going on, know what the pressures are, so that when you're in a room, you don't feel as if you're out of place, or you don't feel as if you should not be in that room. So it's a culmination of, kind of sort of preparing yourself. And knowledge is a lifelong university. You learn every day. You stop learning when you're dead. But when you're still alive, make it a point, to sort of learn something new every day and extend yourself. Don't be arrogant, that as a lawyer, you know it all. Nobody does. Always give yourself the chance to know more and learn more every day. So when you're in that room, you'll be able to collaborate. You'll be able to, build relationships. You'll be able to share knowledge. You'll be able to even talk about things that some people haven't even heard about, because you made it your business to know. I don't like anything about football. But one of my daughters, one of my twin daughters, Simi, she was playing football at 5 years old. She supports Manchester City. I used to take her everywhere. God help the man that thinks that, he knows more than football than Simi. Simi will wipe the floor with them, because she made it a business to know. So by osmosis, I've learned about, football. So I can talk about football. I will not, so I make it my business to know who's won the Premier League or who's done what. I don't like football, but it's a knowledge that I know a lot of people are interested in. I make it my business to know. Make it your business to know.
Right. That answer was loaded on personal branding. I can only try my best to summarize what you said. How do you present yourself? Lawyers, in-house lawyers, how do you present yourself? It starts from there. That's what Lara is telling us. And you don't have to dress like a man, She wears her skirts and she's okay. She has established her brand, a strong one for that matter. Your level of knowledge, and she said not necessarily your legal knowledge. daily knowledge about other things outside of your comfort zone. How much interest have you taken in AI, for instance? It's trending now. There are many perspectives to AI. She's decided to talk about the governance aspect of or perspective of AI. I mean, if you stop learning, you are dead. So you must be deliberate. You must be deliberate and get out of your comfort zone. And I'll say to you, I will add, be a little better in everything you do and go the extra mile. That way you will build a strong brand for yourself.
I think at the end of the day, Justina, you've got to be credible. You've got to be credible. You know, if you say something, you know, people have got to sort of be able to validate that. That's how you build, people respecting the fact that actually when these persons speak, they're not BSing. They speak with authority, they're credible because what they're saying can be fact-checked.
And that explains why in many organizations, when you ask for their core values, integrity is number one. I'm yet to see any organization that does not have integrity as part of its core values. It's very important, and your personal brand is, what is that thing that people say about you when you are not in the room?
Correct.
So when you're not in the room, what do people say about you? If you get to hear it, that is you. Okay, so we're going to move on now. Our time is fast spent, but we still have some questions to throw at Lara. And I'll just quickly ask this one. Have you encountered any misconceptions or biases about the role of in-house counsel that might affect their chances of being selected for board roles? Because sometimes we work so hard, we're looking forward to joining them at the board, but they never give you that chance, even though we know that shareholders will send their own representatives or will want to be on the board. But I mean, you should also be recognized for the job that you have done for so long, because somebody told me that some company secretaries are like permanent secretaries, in quotes. So how will you address this and advise us on how to overcome some of these perceptions?
Yeah, I think the greatest barriers, for lawyer in terms of being invited to sit on the board is very much that as lawyers, we present ourselves as being risk averse. We always look at a problem on the basis that, oh, it's too risky. Oh, you get into trouble, for that. Oh, you're going to be breaking the law. You're going to be breaking the rules. All those things are valid as part of the consideration. But there's the flip side of that, which is there's no business that can be successful without taking a little bit of risk. So one of the things that the board will do straight away is to be able to identify, their risk appetite. So they know, what level of risks they're prepared to take. And as a lawyer, you need to kind of sort of have that collective, believe in that level of risk and, make sure that you've done your homework, that when the board is setting, the level of risk, it is something that is going to be within, the regulatory compliance, i.e. using your knowledge of the legal compliance and regulatory, compliance to make sure that the risk appetite is such that, the business can take that, as well as, also being able to grow the business and take it, forward. It's very important that lawyers, move from being, my main function is to risk manage, to actually thinking that actually as a lawyer, I need to be able to help the business create value. Create value in the sense that it can grow, in the sense that it can, sort of increase its customers, in the sense that, it can be profitable. These are things that a business have to do to survive. So it's very important that we move from, all we're all about is just risk and regulations. We need to see how we can help the business to create value. The second thing in terms of how to ensure that you get that seat on the table is to make sure that you're accessible, you are leveraging your knowledge and you're building trust so that you're credible to be able to influence. I think as lawyers, sometimes we tend to be very arrogant. We think that we know the law and that is, all that matters. We must remember that, yes, whilst we go through very, very rigorous, training to qualify, there are other, people on the board, responsible for different, parts of the business that also are very good in their area. I think we should look to them, to sort of work with them. Collaboration is key. You should always use your legal knowledge, to sort of, yes, I can help, to sort of take that discussion further. I can help, to have that input into strategy that would, deliver growth for the business. At the end of the day, a business is in the business of making money. And as lawyers, you need to understand how you can enable the business, to do that. So ditch the arrogance, of the legal competence, and actually make yourself open to learning. Book time with people, with senior people in other areas to understand the work they do and how they do it, to make sure, that frankly, they see you as somebody, as a partner, who's given, not just there, to think, oh no, I don't give commercial advice. I'm a lawyer, that's your job. You have to make sure that you're accepted as a partner. And that's what's going to help you, to have the voice, to get the respect, that you deserve. You have to earn it, so build the trust and basically, make sure that you have that gravitas that will give you that impact and influence.
Yeah, teach the arrogance and help the business grow. So, Lara, we're going to thank you so much. It's been interesting listening to you. We've run out of time, but there's one last question I'd like to ask you. And so, how does Lara relax with so much work? All work and no play makes.
Well, I do relax. I love partying, I love my Afro
Okay.
beats, so yeah, you see me there, I'm there. I travel, but I think relaxation for me actually is very much having the opportunity to walk. I walk a lot. And when I'm walking, I am thinking. I find it quite relaxing. And today I'm still recovering, from my journeys, so
Okay.
after this call, I'm not doing anything for the rest of the day. And I'm just going to chill, and maybe watch some Netflix and, get a good sleep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to go to questions and answers, and we will do that in at least within 5 minutes. If we have questions, Lara is here to take your questions. Please, let's see your hands so that we can go on to the next item. Any questions for Lara? No questions? I'm not seeing any
All
hands
questions
up.
have been answered.
Yes. Interesting. No questions? Wow.
Thank you very much, Lara, and thank you very much, Justina, for managing that conversation. Not even managing it, but just leading the chat. That was really good. I learned a lot, even if I already know. And I can vouch for those of you, for Lara, on everything she says about herself. She, a long time ago, decided that I was going to walk into rooms like Lara does. And she didn't even know me at the time, but I remember thinking, okay, this woman, I want to be like her. And it was never with any arrogance. It was always smiling, but it's very clear. And I think it's so true. So you're actually being very genuine as well. It's not just what you're saying. I wondered if we have a very short time, actually not really left, but sort of left. I can see that there's some questions that have come into the chat. Somebody's asked, how can one trait to in-house counsel if there's an interest? I don't know what trait means. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a misspelling there. I'll have to ask that person to ask the question again. How do we deal with compromising vis-a-vis the legal ethics? I don't know what the answer might be to that, Lara, and I don't know what you'd be compromising on. You might just say, don't compromise on legal ethics, but I'll let you take that.
Well, I think, frankly, there's no compromising of legal ethics, none whatsoever, and I think you must always remember the hard work to qualification. You never, ever, ever compromise that. However, having said that, there will be some thinking, some approaches that is kind of based on limited knowledge. So you need to invest on education and awareness. So if somebody said to you, oh, well, we can just do that and just make sure, oh, we don't need to report that, because, oh, by the time, we do X, Y, Z, we will have fixed the problem, for example. I think it depends on what it is. Anything that's got to do with sanctions, I work for a payments company and we send money globally. There are rules in terms of you need to know source of funds. You need to be, to check out, who is sending the money. If there's for any reason you kind of sort of fall short of that, you haven't done that, there is a requirement, to self-report. So it depends on the severity of it. If it's not sanctions, if it's not AML, you can actually say, okay, we have a little bit of window, to explain the reason for the delay. But there are some things that you just, if somebody says, oh, well, don't do that. If it falls within those thresholds of where, there's just no leeway at all, you stand your ground. And I think what is important, for us to understand as lawyers, if you choose to turn a blind eye to ethics, please mark my words very carefully. Choose. You're making a choice. With every choice that you make, there are consequences, negative and positive. So when you are choosing to make that decision, you need to make sure that you understand what the consequences are. For me, losing your job is not enough to choose, to, turn a blind eye to ethics. And what you need to do as part of the process to make sure you don't have to make that difficult decision, like I said, building relationships. You need to be able to have the ear of whoever, to sort of sit down over coffee and talk to them and try and convince them as to why it is important to do things in a particular way. Don't wait until when there's an issue. That's why building relationship is from day one. You need to sort of collaborate. You need to make sure that you're banking your capital. Like when you do things very quickly, I always say to my stakeholders, yeah, I've done that for you. You owe me big time. I have banked it. So when the time comes, that I need a favor, I'll go and say, actually, I hear you. You want to do things in a particular way, but that's not ethical. Let's not do that. And hopefully you'll be able to get accommodation and get to a conclusion, but you never, ever compromise ethics.
Thanks, Lara. And we have one last one to you, which is, please, how can I transition in-house in a financial institution without the requisite experience, but with the required certifications and basic knowledge of the industry? I've been trying for a while and it's proving difficult.
It is very difficult because with fintechs, the resources are always very limited, and people want to recruit people, coming in, and just basically hit the ground running, and get things done. One of the ways you can do it, and it's actually it's not the easy way, is to look for secondment opportunities. If of, just, and I don't know how easy that's going to be in terms of, can you take a sabbatical? Can you take some time off? Does your organization allow you to take a week, 2 weeks, or can you take your holiday or something? And just present yourself. I want to learn. I want to come and shadow for a week or whatever, and just take yourself back to the student days, when you are sort of looking for work experience or whatever, to just, break into it and, be able to demonstrate that, because sometimes certification is not enough. People want to know that you have the practical experience, because the environment, for fintech is very agile, very, very agile. Things move at a really, really fast pace. So people have very limited time to train on the job, to get you to come up to speed about it. So if there's any opportunity for secondment, if there's any opportunity to sort of learn, and sort of present yourself as a sort of, gaining experience, that's probably one of the, ways that you can cut into it, because they just will not take people who hasn't got the experience because somebody has time to train. I hope that helps, but it's not easy. But if that's what you want to do, my rule always is you just don't give up. You just don't give up. You just have to keep trying, and you get that.
Thank you very much, Lara. I'm just going to take the last few minutes because, in fact, the person asked that question was saying that part of her or his struggle to get into that role has led them to join ACGC, which is great, because that's a nice segue into talking a little bit about the association. You will have seen Oladimeji, my colleague, has put some information in the chat about joining ACGC, but we mostly want to also let you know about our forthcoming annual conference, which will be in Accra. We have been speaking to the NBA in-house counsel group at Lagos branch about some package groups. So we'd really encourage you to be in touch with your colleagues there about package deals to attend the conference. We also have an annual awards, ACGC annual community awards, which we would absolutely love you to all nominate yourselves, nominate your colleagues, nominate your team. Ask your external counsel to nominate you actually as well, because there is an award for that. So please do get engaged with that. That's all, information is all coming up in the chat. Before we leave, which we will be closing down shortly, I just want to say thank you very much to Justina and colleagues at NBA Lagos branch. Thank you very much for this collaboration with you. We really appreciate it. And it's a pleasure, as always, to see you. Thank you very much to Lara, who has given up her time today and even previously in planning this session. I think there's so many lessons that everybody has picked up from this, and I suspect that the quiet is because of that. It's more like you've covered just about everything. How much more can people ask really in terms of what you've given us on this particular topic of mastering your executive presence, because I think everyone struggles with that at one point or other. And I think having your thing, how you do it is important, because everyone's different, as you said at the beginning. So thank you for that. We're just going to leave you with a little clip that just gives you an idea about ACGC's annual conference. So just keep your eyes on the screen for a couple of minutes more before you go. Thank you very much. Oladimeji, over to you. Lovely. Thank you very much. And really look forward to seeing many of you in Accra. Please get in touch with us at www.acgc.africa or with your colleagues at NBA Lagos In-house Counsel Forum. Thank you all and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much. Nice to, be here. Thank you. All the best. Bye.